Internet. My name is KGD TCG, and welcome to my Shaddoll deck profile. Now, Shaddolls, what do they have in common with gimmick puppets? A string theme, a theme of things being tugged on strings, and pardon me, I happen to love things like that. So, I'm going to be showing you a Shaddoll deck profile. Now, obviously, this is meant to be not really competitive, but it's meant to at least give me some sort of fighting chance. I don't really run any hand traps in this. I technically run hand traps, but they aren't really like, they're not Ash Blossom or Infinite Impermanence hand traps. So first things first, we're going to start with Shaddoll Wendy. Wendy is a really good card in this deck. Because when she is flipped face up, you can special summon a Shaddoll monster in your deck in face up or face down defense position except herself. And if she's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can special summon a Shaddoll monster from your deck in face down defense position except herself. But you can only use each of those effects once per turn. Next, we run 2 Shaddoll Squimata. He is a perfectly good card for the deck, especially considering you can just, when he's flipped, you can just pop a card for free. Any monster on the field, you can just pop it, including your own monsters, actually, which means you can chain him with some of your other Shaddoll's effects in a pinch. Obviously, the main goal is destroying your opponent's monsters, but still. And if he's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can send 1 Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard, which Shaddolls love being sent to the graveyard by card effects. Next, we run 2 Shaddoll Beast. He's my favorite of the Shaddoll regular cards. When he's flipped face up, you can draw 2 cards and discard a card, or if he's sent to the graveyard, you can just draw a card for free. Again, like all Shaddoll monsters share the same effect of you can only use each of those effects once per turn. Next, we run 1 Shaddoll Hound. He allows you to select any Shaddoll card in your graveyard and add it to your hand. So if you need draw power, you can add Beast. If you need to pop something, you can add Squimata. Or if you need to special something, if you need to special summon something, you can add Wendy. If he's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target a monster on the field and change its battle position, which includes any of your Shaddoll monsters, so they can trigger off their own effects. Then we run 1 Shaddoll Falco. If he's flipped, you can target a Shaddoll monster in your graveyard and special summon it in face down. Or if he's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, he special summons himself in face down defense position. Then we run 1 Shaddoll Hedgehog. I would make it 2, but I wasn't able to get another Shaddoll Hedgehog because he just allows you to search any Shaddoll spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which is really good. Or if he's sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add a Shaddoll monster from your deck to your hand except Shaddoll Hedgehog. Next, we're running 1 Nail Shaddoll Ariel. The reason I run her is because she's like DD Crow for the deck, but even better. If your opponent has monsters and spells or traps that they're recycling into their decks from the graveyard, you basically send her to the graveyard to target 3 cards in any of the graveyards and banish them. And when she's flipped face up, you can target 1 banished Shaddoll monster and special summon it in face down defense position, just in case if any of your monsters get banished. And that is it for the Shaddoll monsters. Now, that is not the end of the monsters, but it is the end of the Shaddoll monsters. Now, for me, myself, and I prefer running the Clown engine, the Performage engine, 2 Gimmick Puppet. I was just filming the Gimmick Puppet deck profile, I'm so sorry. 2 Performage Trick Clowns, 2 damage Jugglers, my god, I can't speak today, and Performage Hat Tricker. Now, what these cards do is that 4 of them, the Damage Jugglers and the Trick Clowns, are light monsters, meaning that they fulfill the requirement of being a light monster in order to summon El Shaddoll Construct your boss monster of the deck. I'd say the main boss monster of your deck. Now, while they're light monsters, and that's all well and dandy, Hat Tricker's Earth, so it fills another requirement, but their effects are so good. Like, take Damage Juggler, for example. Such a good effect here. Let's get some extra lighting in here. There we go. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, you can discard this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. During either player's battle phase, you can discard this card, reduce the next damage you would take this turn to 0. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Performage monster from your deck to your hand, except Performage Damage Juggler. You can only use this effect of Performage Damage Juggler once per turn. Now that's a really good card. It allows you to negate any type of effect damage. It allows you to reduce battle damage to 0 for 1 attack, which is pretty darn good. Now Performage Trick Clown, he allows you to target any Performage monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but its attack and defense becomes 0, then you take 1,000 damage. And you can only use that effect once per turn, which is fine by me. Now, Hat Tricker, if 2 or more monsters are on the field, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is not hard for Shaddolls whatsoever. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that would inflict damage to you, you can place 1 Performage counter on this card, max 3. Then make the effect damage 0. When the third third Performage counter is placed on this card, its attack and defense become 3,300. So it protects you from all sorts of burn damage, any type of effect damage that you would be taking. And it makes it 0 up to 3 times, which is really good. Which a lot of people do play burn decks nowadays. Pardon me. Performage Damage Juggler is the star of that show, but the ability to banish him from your graveyard after protecting yourself and get either Trick Clown or Hat Tricker is just amazing. This Clown engine, to me, is really good for the Shaddoll deck. Next, of course, we run 2 Mathematicians. When he's normal summoned, you can send a level 4 or lower monster from your deck to the graveyard. It's a free Foolish Burial with, if he is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. And then I run 1 Electromagnetic Turtle. You can banish him from the graveyard to end your opponent's battle phase. Now, again, he's another light monster, so making sure you have the requirements for your El Shaddoll construct is very important. Now, we're going to be moving on to the spells. Now, obviously, the bread and butter of this deck is the spell card Shaddoll Fusion. This card is so important, you need to run 3 of it. I only bought 2 of the structure deck, but you definitely need 3 Shaddoll Fusions. The card's price has gone down significantly since it first came out. This deck was huge. It was meta-defining. In fact, here, let me just set that there. And you guys can take a look at Shaddoll Fusion. It does about what you'd expect. Shaddoll Fusion allows you to fusion summon a Shaddoll monster from your extra deck. However, if your opponent... Now, normally when you fusion summon, obviously, you have to use materials from your hand or your field. Shaddoll Fusion allows you to use materials straight from your deck as long as your opponent has a monster that they've special summoned. I believe special summoning from the extra deck. So if they have a Link, Synchro, Fusion, or XD's monster, you have the free reign of literally fusion summoning anything you want. Anything from your extra deck with Shaddoll Fusion. It's a fantastic spell for this deck, especially for Master Rule 5. Coming up next, we've got Nephi Shaddoll Fusion, which is an equipped spell. This spell allows you to declare an attribute and equip to any Shaddoll monster that you have, and it becomes that attribute. This allows you to go into more obscure plays in case you don't have the element that you need to summon the Shaddoll monster. Like, take for example, you need to summon Grista and you don't have a fire monster. As you noticed, we don't play any fire monsters in this deck because Nefi's Shaddoll Fusion is what we need. You can declare any attribute. And then you can immediately special summon a Shaddoll Fusion monster from your extra deck using monster from your hand or field as fusion material, including the equipped monster, but you can only use Nefi's Shaddoll Fusion once per turn. Next, we have 2 copies of Allure of Darkness. This card is still extremely expensive, and the fact that it has a copy of it in the deck, like if you can buy the Shaddoll structure deck, you definitely should buy 3. I could only afford 2 at the time, but that just screams how good it is. Allure of Darkness is still a $6 to $7 card, and the reason why is that a lot of decks use dark monsters. A lot of decks use dark monsters, and it's just a free draw 2 at that point. You draw 2 and you banish a dark monster from your hand. It's pretty simple why you would run this card in a Shaddoll deck. Next, we run 2 Super Polymerizations. It's a quick play spell. You discard a card, and you can fusion summon something, but the summon cannot be negated by an opponent's effects. And Super Polymerization cannot be negated, which is really good. So your opponent can't Ash Blossom your Super Polymerization, plus Super Polymerization counts as a card effect sending something to the graveyard, meaning it can trigger any Shaddoll monster that you send to the graveyard using the effect. You could also send Damage Juggler if you wanted, banish it, and add Hat Tricker to your hand. Next, we have El Shaddoll Fusion. It's a quick play spell card. We're running 2 copies of it. It literally is the same as Shaddoll Fusion, except it's a quick play spell, and it doesn't allow you to special summon a fusion monster using material from your deck. It's basically a quick play polymerization for Shaddolls only. Next, we run 1 copy of Curse of the Shadow Prison. This is the field spell for the deck, and I only run 1 copy because you don't need this card in order to succeed, but it is still a really fun card. For every counter on the card, your opponent's monsters lose 100 attack points for each spellstone counter on the card, and the card gets a spellstone counter each time a Shaddoll monster is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, and each time I fusion summon a Shaddoll fusion monster, you can remove 3 counters from the card in order to use an opponent's monster as fusion material, which is disgusting, and I absolutely love it. Then, of course, we're playing 1 copy of Foolish Burial. It activates any of your Shaddoll special effects. No reason not to play Foolish Burial. Then we have quick play, pardon me, that's so rude, I'm so sorry. Quick play spell, Twin Twisters, discard a card, activates your Shaddoll's effects for you, and you can target 2 spell traps on the field and destroy them, pop 2 spells, and get a free Shaddoll effect. It's like, why wouldn't you do this? Then we play 1 copy of Instant Fusion. Pay 1,000 life points. You can special summon any fusion monster that's level 5 or lower from your extra deck immediately to the field. However, it is destroyed at the end of the turn, and you can't have it attack. And you can only activate 1 instant fusion per turn. Now that is going to do it for the spells. Let's go to the traps. Now the reason we run instant fusion, I'm so sorry I forgot to mention this. The reason we run instant fusion is for 1 monster and 1 monster only, and that is El Shaddoll Winda, and when we get into the extra deck I'll show you why. Let's start off with the normal trap, Sinister Shadow Games. Now, most people don't run this card in their Shaddoll decks anymore because they just run 2 copies of Resh Shaddoll Incarnation. But personally, I think this card deserves its place in the deck because it's just a free bunch of effect chains. Just you send a Shaddoll from your deck to the graveyard, then you can change any number of face down defense position Shaddoll monsters you control to face up defense position. It is a free trigger the horde sort of scenario. And personally, because it has Shadow Games on it, it makes me think of the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime. Because, you know, the Shadow Realm, that thing that 4 kids made up. Then we have the Continuous Trap Shaddoll Core. Now, the reason I only run 1 is because 2 made it feel way too clunky. I drew into it way too many times when I didn't need it yet. However, the trap becomes a really good card in case you need to specifically special summon 1 Shaddoll from your deck. I mean, from your extra deck. Like, man, how do I get out of this scenario? Or, oh, I would have lethal if I only could summon that monster from my extra deck. Well, Shaddoll Core is gonna be the card for you, because not only does it become a monster, no longer a trap, it immediately becomes a monster with pretty decent stats, 1450 attack and 1950 defense points. It saved my ass a few times. You can use him as a material to fusion summon any Shaddoll fusion monster that lists an attributed monster as the material, and he can fulfill that material's requirement. So again, let's use El Shaddoll Apocalone, or Apocalone. El Shaddoll Apocalone requires 2 Shaddoll monsters with different attributes. Not only does he fulfill the effect of being a Shaddoll monster, he also fulfills the requirement of being a different attribute, because he can literally be any other attribute other than the one that your other Shaddoll is. So that is why I still run Shaddoll Core. Then, of course, we have Shaddoll Incarnation. Incarnation. Very beautiful card, but a killer effect. You can target any Shaddoll monster in your graveyard and special summon it face down or face up. You can banish the card. You can banish this trap card and activate one of the effects, and also banish a Shaddoll card from your graveyard, which includes spells or traps as well if you don't want to banish any of your monsters. You can change a face down monster to face up defense position. You can change a face up monster to face down defense position, and you can only use Incarnation's effect once per turn. Yeah, you can use each effect only once per turn. And only once that turn, yeah. And then finally, the last card in the main deck, we have Lost Wind. This is a very good card. You can find it in the Dual Devastator. It comes in the structure deck, but you can also find it in the Dual Devastator box. I have a few copies of this now. I have 2 extra now. You target a face-up special summon monster on the field. You can negate its effects. Also, its original attack is halved. If a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Now, the reason why that card is so good is if your opponent tries to summon something like, the new Numeron monsters that are just popping up, because holy crap, those things are going to be broken as fuck. Now, Lost Wind can help you counter that, because immediately when they summon a Numeron monster, you can choose to negate one of those Numeron monsters' effects and cut its attack in half. That's not going to save you from the OTK. There's no way Lost Wind is going to save you from the OTK, but it can at least save you. At least you tried, I guess. So let's go with the extra deck now. 2 copies of the Link Monster Shaddoll Construct. Now, I bet you're a little confused because I mentioned Shaddoll Construct earlier. Shaddoll Construct, the Link card, and El Shaddoll Construct are 2 different cards. Technically, in terms of artwork, it's the same monster. Like, you can see she's like in some sort of incubation chamber of some kind here, but in her in the artwork here, you see that she's a fully fledged mechanical nightmare of craziness and coolness. Her effect is pretty simple. During your main phase, you can fusion summon a Shaddoll monster, using monsters from your hand or field as material, and if this card is in your graveyard, you can send a Shaddoll card from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard and special summon this card. You can only use each effective Shaddoll construct once per turn. So, in case you don't draw any of the fusion spells, you can go into Shaddoll construct and then fuse from there, which just is really helpful, just in case if you're not able to at the time. Plus, if it's in your graveyard, you can just cycle it back to the field and fuse some more. Next, we run one copy of El Shaddoll Wendigo. Wendigo is an okay Shaddoll card. I wouldn't say she's won me any duels, but she's certainly situational. You have to use a wind and a Shaddoll monster. Must be fusion summoned. Quick effect, you can target one monster your opponent controls this turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle with an opponent. Oh, you can target one monster you control this turn. It cannot be destroyed by battle by an opponent's special summon monster. You can only use this effect of El Shaddoll Wendigo once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Shaddoll spell or trap in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Now that is an effect, that last effect is an effect that all Shaddoll fusion cards share. If they are sent to the graveyard, you can add a Shaddoll spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand. Next, we run 2 El Shaddoll Winda. It requires a Shaddoll and a Dark monster. She must be fusion summoned and cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. Each player can only special summon one monster or monsters per turn while this card is face up on the field. So, for example, let's use the Numeron Network field spell as a example. They can only activate that effect once per turn. Like, they can only special summon a monster or multiple monsters once. So when they're done using Numeron Network's effect, they can't special summon after that. Like, they're done. Or let's say your opponent synchro summons and you have this card on the field. They're done. They can't chain anything. They can't special summon anything. They can't do anything, which is really good. And if she's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Shaddoll spell or trap and add it to your hand. Now, Winda is the reason we're playing instant fusion, so that way your opponent won't be able to special summon multiple things during your turn. So what you do is you special summon all the things that you need to special summon for your turn. Then you play instant fusion and summon Winda, so that way while you're activating their effects and attacking, your opponent can't like special summon more than one thing to counter you, which is really nice. We'll save El Shaddoll actually, no, we'll talk about El Shaddoll Construct. El Shaddoll Construct is the biggest, in my opinion, is the best monster in your entire deck. She is literally the bread and butter of this deck, along with El Shaddoll Winda. You can send a Shaddoll card from your deck to the graveyard, just like for free. And at the start of the damage step, if she attacks or if she battles, sorry, not if she attacks, it can be whether she is attacked or if she attacks. If she battles a special summon monster, before damage calculation even happens, that monster is immediately destroyed. So it doesn't matter how strong that monster is, as long as it can't be destroyed, as long as it can be destroyed by card effects, El Shaddoll Construct literally just melts it into oblivion. Like, your opponent has fucking, what is it? Your opponent has, I don't know, example. Let's say your opponent has Black Rose Dragon on their field after they just wiped out your entire board and you managed to summon El Shaddoll Construct. El Shaddoll Construct has 2,800 attack points. Let's say you attack and they go, aha, you activated this trap which doubles my monster's attack points. Yes, but it's a special summoned monster, so it just gets popped immediately. Because El Shaddoll Construct don't fuck around. Now, you can also combo El Shaddoll Construct with El Shaddoll Wendigo and make it so that El Shaddoll Construct cannot be destroyed by battle. So that way, if your opponent tries to normal summon something and just buffs it with a whole bunch of stuff and attacks your construct, you might be able to save it using El Shaddoll Wendigo. So that's just another thing I forgot to mention. What else is new? El Shaddoll Shekhinaga is a rather cool looking monster, though her effects are pretty obscure. When a special summon monster activates its effect while you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do destroy that monster, then send one Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. So basically, she can just say no to any monster effect that your opponent activates, as long as that monster was special summoned. So again, let's take one of the fancy Dark Magician cards. We'll say Magician Souls. So let's say your opponent special summons Magician Souls and activates its effect while you have her on the field. You can just say, no, I send Shaddoll Beast from my hand to the graveyard to negate and destroy her Magician Souls. And then they're like, ah, shit, I can't draw 2 cards. No. My value. Of course, like all the other Shaddoll fusion monsters, when she's sent to the graveyard, you can add a Shaddoll Spell or Trap from your deck, or from your graveyard to your hand. Same as Shaddoll Construct, Wendigo, and Wendy. El Shaddoll Grista. He's the coolest one in my opinion. El Shaddoll Construct and Grista are the coolest looking in my opinion. Let's see if we can get... Yeah, because if you look at that shine, the red really contrasts well with all the other Shaddoll cards in my opinion. There we go. More centered for you. I'm so sorry about that. He must be fusion summoned. When your opponent would special summon a monster or multiple monsters while you have a Shaddoll card in your hand, quick effect, you can negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that monster. Then send one Shaddoll card from your hand to the graveyard. You can only use the effect of Grista once per turn. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Shaddoll spell or trap and send it to the graveyard. Now, according to this effect, it says when your opponent would special summon a monster, parentheses, S. So if they were to summon one monster with one effect or multiple monsters with one effect, you can activate Grista's effect and negate the summon of all of those monsters and destroy all of them. This card makes it possible to play around the Numeron strategy. As long as you're going second and they're going first, if they don't take care of Grista, they can't use Numeron Network's effect to summon all of those monsters. They can't summon 1, 2, 3, or 4 using that effect. Next, we're moving on to El Shaddoll Anoyatilis. They all have such unusual names. I have no idea how to pronounce them because I don't know what language it's like derived from. I don't think it's definitely not German. Anoyatilis. We're gonna go with that. Anoyatilis or Anoyatilis. No, Tilis. Neither player can special summon monsters from the hand or graveyard using spell or trap effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, target a spell or trap with Shaddoll in its name. Add it to your hand. Pretty simple. Really good card in my opinion. And then the only fusion monster in your entire deck, your entire extra deck, that doesn't have the when it's destroyed add a spell or trap. Must be special summoned, cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects of El Shaddoll Apkalon once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can target one face-up card on the field, negate its effects. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Shaddoll card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, then discard one card. Now, I just said they don't have that same effect. She has a better effect, allowing you to add any Shaddoll card, spell, trap, or monster from your graveyard to your hand. Then you can discard a card. allowing you to immediately activate the effects of any Shaddoll monster from your hand, meaning that she is really good at just chaining effects for you when she's destroyed. Alright, and that does it for my Shaddoll deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Gosh, I talked forever. I'm so sorry it took so long. But yeah, that's my Shaddoll deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed. I think the next deck I'm going to be doing, once the rest of the cards get delivered to me, I'll be doing a Fluffle deck profile. In case you didn't notice, I have a thing for strings. Alright, see you guys next time. This is KGD TCG signing out. Bye-bye.